We are welcome back to the doghouse again.
Yes, where Jamie is gonna get her first quest.
Because as we were saying, this is the dog's house, right?
This is the dog's house, that's right.
Not the dog house, the dog's house.
This is the house.
Man, look at that ancient TV.
This is the house
Christ,
of
that
the
is
dog.
a honking huge TV.
That's what TVs looked like back in glorious 1998, 9...
Come on.
Take a gander, kids. You'll never see one again.
Was it 98 or 99? I don't remember.
Well, I mean, you might see one again. Like, one of our neighbors is actually throwing one away, but...
behind me as well, but nothing special.
Yeah, it's nothing special.
So I think Jamie's still wandering around with the gun, but I'm pretty sure that she has picked up the steel pipe at this point.
Yeah, I think she did.
And I think she heard me, because she's going to equip it. Because, yeah, the steel pipe in all of the Silent Hill games is, like, the weapon of choice.
Is it just because it does the most damage and it's infinite ammo because it's not a gun?
You don't have to use... Yeah, it does not consume ammunition.
It'd be really strange if it did.
The idea is that there was supposed to be a trade-off, right? The trade-off was you have to be in melee range, which, of course, makes you more vulnerable. But you don't consume bullets.
And it does damage.
But the thing is, it's pretty strong, and it's pretty easy to use, and yeah, it saves you all your bullets for when you really need them.
Like when you're fighting those flying things.
And those things you should probably not fight with the flying things. I switch back to the handgun for. Mm-hmm. That's when I even bother to fight them, because quite frankly, most of the time, I don't bother to even... I just run
away.
The flying things. They are one of the most annoying enemies in the entire franchise, are these flying things that are in this game. But anyway, yeah, the steel pipe is pretty much the shit when it comes to Silent Hill weapons.
Let me open this huge honkin' fringe. Oh.
Because it's empty.
And if you don't believe me, then I'll run out and see if I can grab a steel pipe from somewhere, and I will hit you upside the face with it. And we'll
probably the nearest construction site, which is, like 150 feet away.
We'll see how good of a weapon you think it is.
There are 3 locks.
Why are there that many locks on a back door?
Keys for Eclipse.
Because they really don't want people going in the back door.
I mean, I guess.
Is my first quest a fucking fetch quest?
Maybe. I mean, there's a line and a circle and an arrow.
One of the things that I love about the Silent Hill games, and have always loved about the Silent Hill games, is the map system. Mm-hmm. How the character draws on the maps and make notes on the maps.
Right.
It's great. It's fantastic. When we get into some of the indoor locations, what you'll notice is every room you go into, Silent Hill has a lot of locked doors.
Right.
It's kind of like a joke meme of the game that the lock is broken, this door can't be opened. Like 3/4 of the door.
There's just whooshing sounds
of the doors.
Whoosh.
In the game are just doors that you can never open. But what'll happen is when on the map he'll actually mark all the doors that you can't go into, all the doors that you can't go into, all the doors that are locked. If he encounters a puzzle, he'll make a note of where that puzzle was on the map.
Break things.
And then as he solves the puzzles, he'll check them off. It's wonderful map system. I don't know how modern games still can't get map systems right. But...
I mean, some modern games have started doing that.
Anything, guys.
Some of the 3DS Zelda games, even though they weren't good, like the Phantom Train or whatever that one was, Spirit Tracks, you could draw on that map and make notes and Link Between Worlds also, I believe, did it.
The Wii Silent Hill game actually let you freehand draw on the map with the little Wiimote, but it wasn't useful at all.
I mean, it kind of brings me to the point.
Anyway, Jamie's complaining about not being able to break things. That's because this isn't Zelda. There are not rupees hidden in the TV.
I don't want rupees.
She wanted to break the door down.
It.
She wanted to break the door down with the pipe.
Anyway, yeah, sorry. You were saying...
I was going to say, it makes me kind of, for the reason that I'm kind of sad that, the Okami remake that was recently announced was never really pushed to the Wii U. They put it on the Wii first, and they put it on, Steam. That game would have been amazing on a Wii U tablet, where you could actually physically draw on the tablet to do, the moves. I thought that would have been so cool, but they never did that. I don't know. It felt like a really missed opportunity, and, now we're getting the HD remake for, I think it's like PS4 and Steam, but like not Xbox One, I think. Because fuck Microsoft, right?
Right, I guess. Yeah. I don't know, I never played the original.
It was a good game. I would actually really recommend getting it, especially when that HD remake comes out at the end of the year. It's like, I think it said it was like December 12th. That was weird.
Yeah, if I can make time for it.
Yeah, like, it's definitely worth your time and definitely worth a review, because the Okami, at least that first game, because I know they made, like, some weird, like, second game where it's like kids, and Jamie's about to encounter some enemies.
She's gonna get to use that steel pipe?
Yeah.
Except it's probably gonna be a flying enemy, which means the steel pipe is not... It's the one situation where the steel pipe isn't that useful.
Like how she's doing it kind of like a radar, kind of like a...
And this was something you couldn't do in the original Resident Evil games. You could not walk with your weapon prepared like that. If you drew your gun, you could not move.
Huh, in the first Resident Evil?
In the first 2 or 3 Resident Evil games, yeah.
Uh-oh. Okay, good. Jamie's just trying to run away.
Run away! Get to the chopper!
Man, I have no idea where she is, though, because she's in the middle of the street. There's no lines. Yeah, why are there no lines on the street?
Because it's a small 2-lane street?
Yeah, I mean, you think that
Really, motherfucker?
You think that there would at least be, like, a line between, like, the two, so that way you'd be, like, left side of the road, right side of the road, but...
So what she's hopefully going to find here is that timing with the pipe is very important. Like, you have to swing, like...
Okay, fuck you.
While it's coming at you.
Fuck you.
No, she's switching to the gun.
Yeah, which for the flying things is, I think, the way to go.
More ideal.
Yeah, the pipe's good for the dogs. The pipe is good for, the nurses when she gets to them.
I fucking hit X, you piece of shit! Shoot you in the fucking crotch.
And then it flies away.
Bye!
Hey, thanks for the bullet. Bye now.
Little did you know I needed a little bullet to complete.
And that's why I try not to bother fighting those things, because they'll absorb a bunch of bullets and then they run away, and you feel like those bullets are wasted.
Really? As soon as I fucking switch back!
It's like it knows.
And it's not like they have any loot on them or anything. They're
right.
just naked.
Yeah, this isn't Resident Evil 4. They don't drop bullets when you kill them.
Dogs are not carrying gold, and this isn't Final Fantasy.
Dogs don't have rupees. You can't trade in dog hair for the
money.
ultimate weapon.
So what other interesting things do you have about this game? About Silent Hill 1?
The only purpose of these motherfuckers is so you fucking lose which way we were going before.
I think that is a good point, yeah. I think the whole point of them was just to disorient you and mess you up.
Yeah, that could... I mean, I never thought about it that way, but that is one of the things that those guys do. And I don't know whether that's, like, deliberate by design, or...
I think it is a purposeful design, because you have to, like, spin around while you're fighting them, and it's like, crap, which way was I going again?
See, and this is why I like watching other people play through these games, is because other people have, it. Like, again, I've
different insight.
I played through this game 2 or 3 times myself. I've watched, like, 4 or 5 other people play through it in its entirety.
Where are
nobody's
you
ever.
flying
I
bastard?
never thought of that. Nobody else I played with has ever brought that up. But that's a
I wonder if they
good observation.
I'm sure they probably had to have thought of it online somewhere, right? Like... And I do have to kind of make the point that was more Jamie's point than mine, and I just kind of expanded on it.
Right. And again, thanks for the 2 bullets.
Bye.
Now. I'll come back when you switch to the pipe. Yeah.
This is an alleyway.
That is an alleyway.
Yep.
So what are we doing now? We're trying to find keys?
She's trying to find the keys to the Eclipse. She's doing the game's first little, like, fetch quest thing, which is basically supposed to get you familiar with the town and...
where things are.
Little Easter egg here. That newspaper there, I don't know if it's this newspaper or maybe it's one of the other newspapers, is the Bill Skins' 5th National Enquirer issue from the Silence of the Lambs.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
And is that something that's like exclusive to like the English version of the game,
Nope.
or they did that in...
This game is loaded with references and allusions to the inspirations for the game. There's going to be a garage door hidden somewhere in the town, I don't remember exactly where, with like red rum painted on it. There's references to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, to Psycho, to
oh wow,
all kinds of stuff.
I didn't know any of that.
And of course, when we get to like the hospital, we're going to see
the nurses.
Numerous references to Jacob's Ladder, which is an almost pervasive influence for this game.
Which one was Jacob's Ladder?
Okay,
that was
ask, the more I run, does that trigger more fucking monsters, or does it make a difference at all?
No, it just means you're covering more distance, so you get to the next monster quicker.
Because I feel like I've read that story before, Jacob's Ladder.
Jacob's Ladder is a movie, not a book.
Oh, okay. Then I definitely haven't read it.
Without getting into spoilers, it's about a Vietnam War veteran who, comes home from the war and slowly starts thinking he's going insane and is dealing with, some...
Fuck you, bitch!
Like, guilt and depression issues associated with the fact that his young
Cut
kid...
your ass on the ground.
Who's played by Macaulay Culkin, had been killed...
While he was out. And...
No, not while he was out. It was before he went to the war. But it was like a car accident or something. Like he got hit by a car walking his bike across the street. Some easily avoidable, sort of thing.
Died to some jackass.
Right. I don't even necessarily want to say that the guy was a jackass. It was just, it was just an accident. Accident. The kid walked out from in between two parked cars, and a car, going too fast maybe. She can't stop in time and hits him and kills him.
So is there something here that she's supposed to find?
Yes.
Whatever the fuck was circled ain't there now.
It's a little bit hidden. Let's see if she can find it. And if she can't find it, for the sake of brevity. I'll let her know where to go.
To start finding it.
So there's like giant holes in the city.
Just for no reason?
For no reason. Yeah.
Ugh.
So there is one of the big points of contention and debate in the Silent Hill fan community, and I don't know where this stands currently, but in the past it's been a real contentious issue, is the idea of...
Jamie's starting to get away from where that was.
Yeah. Jamie, go back to where that stuff was circled.
There is a thing there.
There is an item there that you need to get to progress the game.
Yeah, there's a fucking monster is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I see you, bitch.
So anyway, a major point of contention in the game, or in the series, is...
That's right, bitch!
What
I'm Rick James!
is real, and what isn't real. And this is something that I kind of don't want Jamie... I definitely... Jamie, you can't hear me, can you?
What?
Exactly.
Okay,
keep not hearing.
Continue to not listen to me. Because this is
I'll
something...
just be continuing to be Rick James, then.
Because this is something that I'm kind of going to want to ask her when we're done playing the game, is what impression she got. So
right.
A very common and what I feel is erroneous interpretation of these games is that they take place in one or more parallel dimensions.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like a hellscape.
Kind of. So, like, stuff like this big hole in the ground, is not really in Silent Hill. It's in some parallel demonic dimension that apparently the character
where all
gets
these
sucked
enemies are like coming from.
Right, and then there's this concept of the other world, which we'll get to later in the game, where like the town like completely goes to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and a lot of fans believe that these take place in different like dimensions. Right, but I've always kind of been of the opinion that it's all real, right? Because the story of the game, as we're gonna get further and further into the game, is that there's this cult that is trying to resurrect their god,
right?
A god that has the power to turn dreams into reality, and turn reality into dreams, right? And so.
That's kind of what like this is hinting on, is like...
Right, so it's always been my understanding and interpretation that the power of that god is literally reshaping the world
around this person
in real time, based on projections of the mental attitudes of the characters involved. And in the case of Silent Hill 2, it's like super explicit about this. And in the case of the other games, the game world is being reshaped based on the perspective of the villain characters, not of the main playable protagonist, which is one of the reasons that a lot of things seem so
weird.
So weird, right? Because they're not coming from the players or the character's mindset; they're coming from the villain's mindset, and the villain mindset is like this, these crazy freaking cultists,
right?
So yeah, shit gets really crazy. Although this game, it's a little bit different than that, because the projections are actually coming from a character named Alessa, who's a child, and she's actually not the villain. Again, another common misinterpretation is that people think that Alessa is the bad guy.
She's just a scared child.
In fact, again, my interpretation of the game is that Alessa...
Property values really dropped.
Alessa...
Oh boy.
Okay.
The bad jokes.
My interpretation of the game is that Alessa is not the villain. She's not, like, if you saw the Silent Hill movie.
Okay.
Right,
I
the
think
Silent
I get
Hill
it.
movie was about Alessa, like, trying to turn the town into hell and murder all the cultists in a fit of vengeance.
And that's not necessarily what she is in the game.
And in the
I bet they
game,
let it straight.
what she's doing is she's trying to seal off the town from the influence
Across the
of
street.
the demon god that the cultists are trying to summon.
So basically trying to limit them doing all this stuff.
Right, and in so doing, she's
An alleyway.
accidentally projecting her own fears and nightmares
Into this.
onto the city.
Oh,
So
fuck
she's not
you.
a villain. She's trying to help. She's trying to save everyone.
She's just basically not doing it like optimally.
Right.
Because she's a kid.
Well, she's like a teenager at this point.
Yeah, but teenagers don't know what they're doing.
Right.
They
But-
just think they do.
But you're talking about the powers of a demon god, right? And
Right.
then there's the thing of there's the question of whether the demon
Fuck you.
god is even real, or if that's also some kind of manifestation.
Yeah.
So I've written an extensive
make an
blog
asshole.
post about the history of Silent Hill, my personal interpretation of it.
Of where like everything fits and
Right, and basically it's my interpretation is that the way it works is there's this power, this like ghostly, mysterious, supernatural power in the town that has the ability to manifest things from people's dreams and nightmares and imagination. And the Native Americans, and this is explicitly part of the game's backstory that's presented in Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 3, the Native Americans that lived here before the white Europeans came and displaced them all worshipped this power. Like, they thought the area was sacred. And
So kind of like the
God
Sacred
damn it.
Indian Burial Grounds kind of thing. Like
yeah. Well, kind of. And so, I believe that to the Native Americans, it was a benign and benevolent power. So it maybe manifested like food and water and,
Yeah.
and healed people and things like that. And maybe, took the form of their ancestors or whatever.
and it was very spiritual and nice.
Right. But then when the Europeans came,
And screwed everything up.
they brought Christianity with them, and and when they came into contact with the supernatural power, to them this was witchcraft, right? This was Satan,
Like
satanic.
Satan, it was like evil. So
Right. They thought it was evil, and so what I believe happened is that as the Native Americans who
Were
worshipped
pushed
this
out.
power were displaced and replaced with the Europeans who were afraid of it and thought it was evil, the power itself, because it was manifesting those
based on
feelings,
based on the feelings.
gradually became
Like
twisted and evil. It's a
that
cyclical
makes-
thing.
kinda
It's
makes
like
sense.
A,
I like
it's like
that.
a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then
You make of it like what you think of it, kind of.
right, and so this cult emerged that now believes that they believe that this power is a god, Right?
It's like the end-all, be-all.
And what we'll find at the end of the game, when we actually see this god, is it looks an awful lot like Satan. So,
funnily enough.
So these cultists are basically Satan worshippers, right? And they manifest a god that looks like Satan because they're bringing their Christian worldview into it. And it's manifesting in that form. Whereas to the Native Americans...
It was something completely else.
It would have just been nature spirits or the spirits of the ancestors.
Like the totem pole kind of thing. Like
yeah. Right, like that sort of thing. And so, there's, again, like I said, there's the question of how much of this is happening in the real world. And I think all of it is happening in the real world. All of these monsters, I think, literally, physically exist. This power, this spiritual power, whether it is a literal conscious god or whether it's just some kind of, power that turns dreams into reality, accidentally, is physically creating these things and physically reshaping the world as these characters travel through it.
Right.
That is, that's how I've always seen and interpreted the game. And when Jamie's done with the game, I'm going to be curious to ask her how she feels about that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think that there's like parallel dimensions or that it's all happening inside the
character's head,
the protagonist, and I think a lot of that comes from a lot of the fan favorite is Silent Hill 2, and a lot of people started by playing Silent Hill 2. In fact, I actually started the series on Silent Hill 2.
Well, because around our age, like that would have been the one that you would have picked up at the age where you're like, huh, this looks like a good game.
And Silent Hill 2 is more how to explain this? I'm trying to put this into words. Silent Hill 2 is more introspective, right? It's a
Where the fuck are the other bedrooms? Is this just like a one bedroom house?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a lot more... Silent Hill 2 is a lot more in the head of the protagonist, right? Like, everything in the game is, like, symbolic of something in the, going on in the protagonist's mind. Whereas the other games are not. And so, going back to the point, I started bringing this up because we were talking about, or we were observing the big hole. The
crater.
The lowering of property values, as Jamie put it.
Oh, so gracefully.
And in the sequel, in Silent Hill 2, you don't see those. Well, you maybe see.
They're not really there.
No. Well, they are. But what you see is when you get into the city, there's like metal grating and stuff covering them up, right?
Mm.
And buildings are dilapidated, and there's like a lot of like construction work, and you see like not police tape, but like construction tape.
Yeah, like do not enter this area.
And cones and stuff blocking off areas, which to me implies that they're fixing all of this damage.
Trying to, at least.
You are seeing in the game.
Right.
So these holes that are in the street
are actually there.
They're being covered up and repaired. And, and Silent Hill 2, I don't want to spoil too much of it because I don't know if you guys are going to play this, but...
We'll see.
Silent Hill 2, the character is dealing with some personal issues, and he's kind of self-delusional, right?
How so?
Again, I don't want to explain too much of it because it goes into like
spoiler territory.
But the character's mind is broken, and the town is kind of forcing him to put it back together.
Mm.
And the construction work that's happening in town works both as literally they are rebuilding the town after it's been partially destroyed by whatever the heck happens in the first game, but it's also symbolic of
of him repairing his...
James's mind is broken, and he's here to put it back together, and the town, like...
sort of does it at the same time.
It's manifested in the city itself. The city is a mental projection.
As he fixes himself, the city becomes fixed.
Of James's own subconscious.
Yeah.
And therefore, the town is broken and in the process of being repaired.
Right. So, I think Jamie's a bit lost.
Yes. She does, however, have a map.
And enemies and
a map that, as we've discussed before, is very, very conveniently labeled and marked for her.
Fuck you!
With clear
Go here, Mark.
Go here, Mark. Sometimes literally.
I don't think she heard that.
But we also told her earlier not to listen.
Yeah, well, if you want to tell her, we might want to, because...
Yeah. Remember, you do have a map, and the map has stuff labeled on it.
I'm not sure where to go next.
So,
when you were in the house.
When you were in the house, the things that got labeled...
I unlocked...
Yeah, the circle, X on Elroy Street, that's already been X'd out.
That
the
line.
other thing is that arrow in the top right on Finney Street going... east across the bridge.
And that line in the top right.
And then the line in that alleyway between Finney Street and, what is that, Matheson Street?
Yeah.
So those are the 3 places that were added to the map.
When you were in that house.
When you were in the house. So those are the 3 places that you're supposed to
You probably want to investigate. You know, after you're done shooting at bird demons.
Yes, using up all your bullets.
I mean, granted, you do have a lot of bullets.
You do have a lot of bullets, and in Silent Hill 2, you have even more bullets, and that's because the game Silent Hill 2 uses that for a very clever. So these survival horror games, there's this instinct, right, to conserve ammunition and supplies,
right? Because you don't want to use up all your ammo and then be shit out of luck.
Right, and so something that Silent Hill 2 did, which I think is really clever, is Silent Hill 2 also has multiple endings, but the ending triggers are a lot more ambiguous.
Like one of them would be like, only have you used X amount of ammo.
Not quite, but so in the first Silent Hill game, there's basically like 2 major decision points that are binary choices, and they both splinter off into 2 different sets of endings.
Right.
So there's 4 endings total. Because there being 2 branching paths. In Silent Hill 2, there's like 3 main endings that you're going to get on a first playthrough, and then there's a bunch of like unlockable bonus
side ending things
for like New Game Plus, and joke endings and stuff like that. But the 3 endings.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing that there was like a UFO ending and stuff somewhere.
Yeah, there's silly stuff like that. There's UFO ending in I think the first one as well, which is like the 5th like unlockable New Game Plus.
Once you're in a New Game Plus, yeah.
But anyway, there's 3 endings in Silent Hill 2, and the triggers for them are these really, really esoteric, like things that you wouldn't even think of as being ending. Like it's not like Mass Effect, right, where they put a big dialogue prompt with the Paragon and the Renegade action. What Silent Hill 2 does is it tracks certain actions by the player and certain behaviors by the player.
Over the course of the game.
Over the course of the entire game. And so one of the endings of the game is... each of the endings of the game is a different way that the protagonist handles the revelations that he's forced to confront in the town. And in one of those endings, he handles it by killing himself.
Right.
And the way to trigger that ending is basically to let yourself take damage and then not immediately heal it. So the game gives you a lot of healing items and a lot of bullets. But because this is a survival horror game and you're like operating under the assumption that you need to conserve everything, you're not necessarily using that stuff right away.
Right.
But the game is interpreting James's refusal to heal himself
as like suicidal, like self-deprivation.
Right. Like he doesn't value his life. He doesn't care whether he lives or dies. So at the end of the game, he gives up and he kills himself because of things that... Now there's other triggers on top of that as well that you have to trigger.
But that like plays a part of it.
But how often you heal for that particular ending is like the biggest like contributing factor, or one of the biggest. And the other 2 endings have like similar things. Like there's an NPC character that you have like a short period where you have to escort her around the city. And the other 2 endings, one of the big factors is how you treat her. If you're really protective of her, you get one ending. If you like ignore her, you get a different ending.
Okay.
And it's again like really clever, really subtle, and it's all background stuff. The game doesn't tell you
that something is being affected.
Any of this stuff, you have no reason to believe until you get... In fact, even when you beat the game, like you have to go and look up online.
Like why did I get this ending?
And what I really like about that is that it
It's doing
imbues
so well, too.
an element of the player's personality onto the character. You, as the player, inform how the character copes
with these situations.
With the situation in the end. Now, the endings don't change the actual content of the revelation, right? They don't affect any plot twists or anything.
It just affects the route.
It's like all it does is affect the epilogue. And it doesn't even affect the route to get there. It's literally like after you beat the final boss. Well, actually, it's the final boss and after the final boss are affected by the ending, because the final boss will change a little bit based on which the endings you get. But
I'll come back to that.
Basically, that's it. So later games, all of the games after Silent Hill 4, tried to basically ape off of certain elements of Silent Hill 2, and were mostly very ineffective at doing so. And one of the reasons that they were bad, and Silent Hill Downpour and Silent Hill Homecoming are particularly bad at this, is they literally change the plot twist of the game.
That's rough.
Based on the different endings. Like, for example, in Silent Hill Downpour, like, the plot of the game is, like, the character wants to get revenge on the guy who, like, raped and murdered his son, right? And then accidentally ends up killing a police officer. And then the police officer's daughter wants to take revenge on him without knowing that, like, he didn't actually kill the police officer.
Right.
But, like, and the character knows that he was arrested, like, went to jail for killing a police officer. So he just, like, it's not that he forgets it. The game just doesn't tell the player this, and then it draws it out for hours and hours and hours and hours. And depending on the different endings you get, either he did kill either he didn't actually kill the police officer, he was framed for it, or he did kill the police officer, or he did kill the police officer and he killed his son, and he's a remorseless serial killer. Or it turns out he was the bad guy all along, and the police officer who's been chasing him is in jail. Like, the whole backstory of the game changes based on which ending you get. And so the whole story throughout the entire course of the game is this convoluted mess, because it can't really answer any questions. It has to cater to all of these different options.
Possible
so
endings.
It's so vague, and it's ridiculous. But anyway, I think we're going a little long. We might have to...
Yeah, just a little. We're probably... I was trying to see if Jamie could find the key that's around here or whatnot, but...
I think Jamie will have to find the remaining 2 keys next time on the branch.
Yeah, or maybe she just found it.
Or maybe she did.
Maybe. Maybe.
That definitely looks like a key.
Yep. And some health
Fuck
potion.
me.
If she notices. Hopefully.
And a dog head, if she examines it.
Be sound.
But I don't see
Where the
dog.
Apparently someone was playing basketball with the head of a dog.
That's kind of cruel.
Yeah, I know, I see it.
I guess we'll have to find the 3rd key then next time on the branch.
Yeah, so at least we got 2. We're almost there.